The Bible sketches a relationship between Paul and Timothy that covers about 15 years. Two men of faith in a mentor-protege relationship. They most certainly meet on Paul's first missionary journey in around 45 AD, when Paul and Barnabas spend an extended amount of time in and around Timothy's hometown. Inside of about 5 years, Timothy joins Paul's traveling band during his second missionary journey. Of course, he's still a very young man, but he also travels separately from Paul quite often, acting as Paul's diplomat. 1 Corinthians 4:17 implies one of these journeys. Timothy will remind you of my ways in Christ Jesus as I teach them everywhere and in every church. In the same verse, Paul calls Timothy my beloved and faithful child in the Lord. Well, I'll be honest with you. I've never called anyone my beloved and faithful child, and in fact, I have never even considered it. If you told me, would you call me my faithful child? I'd actually refuse the child part, unless perhaps it was Sister Corey or Brother Isaiah asking me, because I think it would demean anyone else. I'll grant this. Paul and Timothy's culture is different than ours, and I don't think Paul means to demean Timothy by calling him his child, and I don't think Timothy is insulted at all. Anyway, I'm not calling any one of you my faithful child. Paul, on the other hand, even after he's known and worked with Timothy for a long time, calls Timothy my own son and my beloved son in his letters to Timothy. So when would Timothy get to grow up in Paul's mind and deserve a title other than child? Never? No, not never. Long before Paul calls Timothy my beloved son, he called Timothy something else, our brother. For example, in 2 Corinthians. In 1 Thessalonians, he calls him a minister of God and our fellow laborer in the gospel of Christ. So Paul names Timothy as a co-author of 6 of his letters. I think that's high respect. It's a point we often ignore in our sermons. As I suggested earlier, Timothy spends as much time serving the Lord away from Paul as he does with Paul. And Paul says it outright, that Timothy has a call of God of his own, saying that Timothy is, quote, doing the work of the Lord just as I am. That's in 1 Corinthians 16:10. In his 2 letters to Timothy, Paul makes it amply clear that Timothy's success as a man of God will not be found riding on the coattails of Paul or hanging on the apron strings of his grandmother. Timothy has to, quote, study to show himself approved, preach the word, flee youthful lusts, be an example of the believers. A lot of you have grown up in the church or been followers of Christ for a long time. Tonight in Home Fellowship, let's talk about all the things that a young convert must overcome to become an independent practitioner of the faith who answers for himself.